Welcome back to another episode of Powerslide TV. Today we're going to be a little bit wicked. See what I did there? Be wicked. But talking seriously, Wicked obviously has the most complete selection of bearings for all rolling sports, from let's say cheaper or more budget-friendly ABEX series right up through to the range-topping HCR bearing. It can be a little bit daunting knowing which bearing is the right bearing for you, and I mean, obviously if your goal is to win a world title, you probably need to invest a little bit more than a set of ABEX 7 bearings. So talking a little bit about bearings, probably the most common common question in all our communication with customers, what does ABEX actually mean? Matthias?
ABEX actually is the annual bearing engineering committee. It's basically an institute in America, and they're rating the bearings. And the bearings basically are rated by a lot of different features, like the accuracy of the inner ring, the outer ring, the balls, the cage and everything. So the higher the rating, the more precise the bearing. Does it really matter for inline skating? In a lot of cases, it does not matter, as sometimes of the best bearings in the world, they are not the highest ABEX rating, but they are perfectly made and adjusted for inline skating. But the main features of a bearing, like we said, we have the outer ring, we have the inner ring, we have the balls, and then we have the cage, and we have the shield. Starting with the shield, there's different types of shields. Here in my hand, it's a rubber-coated metal shield, and this is called RZ for rubber coating, basically. And then you have the normal shields, which are made out of steel, and they are pressed in. So these are steel pressed in. Normally they're called just set. Set means it's on both sides are covered. If it's only one set, 6 or 8 set, it means it's only covered on one side. And then you also have like the shields, which actually have clip rings. So you have the metal shield with a C-clip ring, which you can take out and then remove the shield and put it on again. So it's easier for washing and for cleaning the shields. And then the cage can be in different materials. It can be steel, and it can be basically a plastic, a special nylon or Delrin. The advantages of steel, it's very strong and it's holding up really well. It's taking away also the heat quite well. The negative point is when you do really hard jumps or really hard impacts, when steel deforms, it's deformed and not coming back. While injected cage, like in a Delrin or in a special nylon with fiberglass, it is really strong too and has a little bit less rolling resistance. And it's also like more forgiving when you do impacts and jumps, and it always comes back in the normal shape. And then especially the most important thing actually for the bearing is the accuracy and the material of the balls and the inner and the outer ring. The harder the steel and the better the steel, the faster it will roll. And then it also depends on how much actually polishing and honing the raceways and the balls is going into the whole process of basically manufacturing.
So it's been quite a long video. I mean, we just want to continue and finish up here with the bearings. Obviously, one of the most important elements of the bearing is the actual balls inside. Generally, with most ball bearings, there's, let's say, 3 grades of bearing. The cheapest and most common bearing you'll often, you'll find in cheaper skates is the carbon steel balls. Let's say the middle grade is chrome steel, and that's what a vast majority of all the Wicked bearings are. And then on the top, you have ceramic ball bearings, which are obviously the fastest, the most high price, but they're also, I mean, it's like a little bit of everything. You get what you pay for, and they're definitely the fastest.
Right, also for the ceramic balls, look for the color. The white ones are okay, and the dark ones, like the titanium colors, these are the really good ones because they're harder, they're more round, and so they are faster and longer lasting than the white ones.
Yeah, it might seem like a funny point. I mean, looking at them visually, all ball bearings look probably round, but the ceramic ball bearings are actually rounder, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and then the last but not least very important issue is like the lubrication of the bearings. So a lot of the standard bearings come with a thick grease, so they turn only if they're like worn in. So the grease first has to get a little bit warm to be, transferred all around the bearing, and then they run quite nice. But if you want to have a faster bearing, then you have to wash or clean it and put just like a little bit of lubrication inside, like an oil, which is the viscosity is very low, so it spins very fast, but it also gets out of the bearing very fast, and it also collects a little bit dust on the outside. And the other one, which is in between the grease and the oil, is like the gel. And the gel is a little bit less viscosity than the grease, but more than the oil. So it's like almost a perfect middle where you have like for fitness skating, urban skating, which is really, really good. So speed, fast, you want to go for oil. And the more durable you want to be at long lasting, you go for grease.
So thanks for watching. That was, bearings is, you can talk all day about it, but that was just a little overview of all the different parts to educate you, to give you a little bit more information on what to look for, hopefully what suits your budget and your performance needs. Remember, be wicked.